Alright, we have a breaking news story that may serve as the October surprise. This article from the Daily Beast that just dropped reads, Epstein showed me photos of Trump with topless young women sitting in his lap, claims author. Controversial writer Michael Wolff says Epstein kept the pictures of Trump in his safe, which the FBI later seized but never subsequently released. And this would perfectly explain why Donald Trump was so hesitant to say that he would in fact declassify the Epstein list and Epstein files when he was asked by Fox and Friends not long ago. We'll play that clip in 1 second, but the broader theme of this video is going to be the relationship between Trump and Epstein and how it's gone rather unexplored, not only by the mainstream media, but also by conspiracy theorists. I mean, conspiracy theorists make up all of these random theories about Epstein, about Diddy being connected to Epstein and Kamala and Biden, but when there are pictures of Trump and Epstein, they conveniently don't care. They conveniently never bring it up. In the same way that they say George Soros is controlling all of the media, but when Elon Musk buys Twitter, spreads propaganda, and wants to put a chip in people's brains, conspiracy theorists don't say anything. You know, with 5 days to go, we have no time to waste. Drop a like and double check to make sure you're subscribed. We're barreling towards 1 million subscribers. We're gonna hit it with the help of you guys. Before we break down this article, let's watch author Joanna Coles dropping the bombshell on CNN. Watch this.
What they're saying they want to do on abortion is what they're actually going to do, or is it what J.D. Vance was saying just a couple years ago?
Well, you can't trust anything that they're saying, right? I mean, we're in the delirium stage of the campaign now, where Donald Trump in particular is just talking literally words fall out of his mouth that don't really make any sense. We know that his advisors are telling him, don't talk about this, but he can't stop himself because he's the only person he listens to. Michael Wolff, the author who writes very authoritatively about him, has just come out this evening talking about all these pictures that there are of Donald Trump with Jeffrey Epstein and the whole Epstein-Donald Trump relationship, which really has gone largely unexplored, is coming to the fore again. This is a man who has women's interests furthest away from women themselves. And the idea that we're really paying it much logic is kind of scary at this point.
Joanna Cole said it perfectly, and the reason some of these stories are resurfacing now, number one, is because of the proximity to the election, but number two, because Donald Trump has been making these repeated claims about being the protector of women, being uniquely great for women, and people are releasing these stories to push back. And again, the relationship between Trump and Epstein has gone rather unexplored, as Joanna said right there, even though there's this clip of Donald Trump very clearly hesitating when he's asked about if he'll declassify the Epstein files. Notice how with every answer here, he says yes, with no hesitation. But when the Epstein files get brought up, he says maybe, because we know that he's thinking of these photos at the back of his mind. Take a look.
Would you declassify the 9/11 files?
Yeah.
Would you declassify JFK files?
Yeah. I did a lot of it.
Would you declassify the Epstein files?
Yeah, I would.
Attorney General.
Would you
And Fox News cut this out of their interview. Just notice the difference.
Declassify JFK files?
Yeah.
Would you,
I did a lot of it.
Would you declassify the Epstein files?
Yeah, I would.
There is a moment there, and you see the Fox News host, their face get kind of worried for a second there.
You're telling me that all these comedian podcasters who make Epstein jokes, I make Epstein jokes, and you were sitting across the guy who's been in multiple pictures at different times of his life with Epstein, and you didn't even mention it?
Yeah.
You didn't mention it?
That's the thing. Joe Rogan, Andrew Schultz, Theo Vaughn, these people are constantly talking about Epstein and his connection to politicians. They are relentlessly trying to draw theories where there are none, but when we have actual, substantial proof that Donald Trump is buddy-buddy with Jeffrey Epstein, these people are nowhere to be seen whatsoever. And this brings us on to the main story. The Daily Beast dropped this article titled, Epstein showed me photos of Trump with topless young women sitting in his lap, claims author. Controversial writer Michael Wolff says Epstein kept the pictures in his safe, which the FBI later seized. Now, Jeffrey Epstein showed photos of Donald Trump with, quote, topless young women sitting in his lap. The pedophile financier, those words are strong but absolutely true, honestly an understatement, had about half a dozen pictures which showed Trump by the pool with multiple young women, allegedly, Wolf claims on his podcast, Fire and Fury. They were taken in the, quote, late 90s at Epstein's Palm Beach home, where we know for a fact, not allegedly, we know that he victimized dozens of young underage girls, along with his procurer, Ghislaine Maxwell. Wolf alleged that they were in Epstein's safe, which the FBI seized when they raided his homes in New York and Palm Beach in July 2019, while Trump was president, and Epstein died while Trump was president, and they still say that it was some nefarious plot by the Clintons, who didn't have power at the time. The massive haul of evidence taken by the feds has never been made public, and while prosecutors disclosed after the raid that they had hundreds of photos of girls and young women, they have never offered any more details of them. Obviously, they can't release these photos because if they're underage women, yeah, Wolf said of the photos, they were with Trump at Epstein's Palm Beach house, sitting around the pool with these young girls, and the young girls are topless. In some of the pictures, I mean, they're sitting in his lap. I mean, and there's one I especially remember where there's a stain, a telltale stain in front of Trump's pants, blah, blah, blah. The Trump campaign hit back at Wolf for the claims, calling him disgraced. The Trump campaign has been on defense this entire campaign cycle, and there's a phrase in politics, if you're explaining, you're losing. And the Trump campaign has been explaining since day one, whether it's the Arlington National Cemetery thing, where they were constantly explaining themselves, explaining and defending themselves, or whether it's watermelon jokes, or anything they do, they have to explain it away. Quote, he waited until days before the election to make outlandish, false smears, all in an effort to engage in blatant election interference on behalf of Kamala Harris. He's a failed journalist that is resorting to lying for attention, says the Trump campaign. I have to include that quote, but let me just point out, there have been 20 to 30 women that have made credible claims alleging Donald Trump has sexually abused them or groped them. He has been found civilly liable of sexual assault in court. Sources in the Trump camp claim that he had severed relationships with Epstein when he learned of allegations that he was a sex trafficker, and pointed to his quote, I was not a fan of Jeffrey Epstein, and you watched people yesterday saying that I threw him out of a club. I didn't want anything to do with him. That was many, many years ago. Let me show you this clip of Ana Navaro talking about Trump's offensive remarks to women.
That is quite the closing message to women, whether you like it or not.
Well, if you ask all the women who have accused him of sexual harassment, if you ask the women who have accused him of rape, if you listen to what he said on that Access Hollywood tape, you realize that Donald Trump is a man who has a long history of doing things, whether women like it or not. I find it offensive too. Women don't want to be protected by Trump. They want to be protected from Trump, because no matter how much he tries, he cannot run away from having handpicked those 3 Supreme Court justices that overturned Roe, and have meant that women all over this country are having a very hard time getting the reproductive health they need. Some of them have died. Some of them have had to almost die in order to get treatment. Doctors are petrified of treating them. That's not protection. That's threatening our lives.
Whoever on his staff said, sir, don't say that.
Came up with tears in his eyes and said, sir, here's Charlie Kirk right now at this Tucker Trump event,
where the current president of the United States thinks that you're a bunch of garbage. Well, look around, Mr. President, because there's a lot of garbage here tonight.
A lot of garbage here tonight. You know, someone a few years back said that if we called Trump supporters a bunch of shit eaters, they would start eating their shit to say, yeah, we are whatever libs say we are, just to own the libs. But broadly, conservatives are such absolute snowflakes. For years, Donald Trump has been throwing out the most bombastic rhetoric possible, saying, lock her up, Hillary Clinton is the devil, she's evil, a terrible person, lock her up, lock her up. And Joe Biden says garbage one time in a response to them calling an entire island, Puerto Rico, garbage, and now Charlie Kirk is throwing a fit and acting like it's 9/11. An absolutely disgusting opportunist, just like Donald Trump's event yesterday when he said, I'm going to do it whether the women like it or not. This is such a creepy clip.
People told me about 4 weeks ago, I was saying, no, I want to protect the people. I want to protect the women of our country. I want to protect the women. Sir, please don't say that. Why? They said, we think it's very inappropriate for you to say. I said, why? I'm president. I want to protect the women of our country. They said... They said, sir, I just think it's inappropriate for you to say, pay these guys a lot of money. Can you believe it? I said, well, I'm going to do it whether the women like it or not. I'm going to protect them. I'm going to protect them from migrants coming in. I'm going to protect them from foreign countries that want to hit us with missiles and lots of other things.
Absolutely incredibly creepy. I want to end this video off with an article titled, "New Poll Shows Harris with Big Early Vote Lead Despite GOP Gains." Nationally, Harris leads Trump by 19 and 29 points among those who say they've already voted, which is more than Hillary Clinton in 2016. A lot of women, a lot of young people voting early. Please, guys, go out and vote. And not only you guys, I'm pretty sure everybody that's watching my videos relentlessly have already voted, but what you can do that's important in the next 5 days, get your voice heard in this democracy, make sure your friends and family go out and vote, make sure you phone bank, make sure you canvass, make sure you're trying to get people out there and mobilized. There are ways for your voice to be heard. The 2024 election has set records for pre-election day votes basically every day, and Republicans are increasingly excited about numbers that show their side has embraced early voting much more than they did in 2020. That's much to do with Elon Musk, Charlie Kirk. They have all promoted it a lot with Donald Trump. Elon Musk has said that these numbers predict victory for Donald Trump. They're also using that to lay the groundwork so they can claim election fraud. And let me just clarify, the election is not over. It is far from it. But there are plenty of reasons not to overinterpret the data Musk and his allies are citing. A lot of this data is to be taken with a grain of salt, but actually we do have some clues about who people are voting for. VP Harris appears to be banking a significant lead heading into election day, potentially more than Hillary Clinton for what it's worth. Sorry. Recent ABC News polls, New York Times polls, and CNN polls show Harris with a 19 to 29 point advantage among voters who say they've already cast ballots. And you guys can help widen that if you go vote and get your friends and family to vote. Have a great rest of your day. I'll see you in the next video, and peace out.